So if I look at 3 raised to the x equals 80, that looks like this, doesn't it? Except in this one, we had to have the same base, correct? Can I write 80 with a base of 3? We can't. So we have to have something, some way to solve this where I can't get it with a common base. So we're going to use the calculator to do this. So whatever I do to one side of the equation, I have to do to the other, correct? So if I took the log on this side, because the log is the inverse of the exponential. So if I take the inverse of that, if I take the log of 3, where does the x have to go? It goes to the front. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So to solve for x, I would divide by log of 3. So before you start punching that in, I want to know, do you think if I took the ln on both sides, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, you guys take the log. You find the answer with the log, and you guys find the answer with the ln. So everybody should end up with 3.9887. Because it doesn't matter if you use the log or the ln. You get the same answer. We are always going to use the ln. Because when we have a base e, you have to use the ln. So we're not switching back and forth. We're just always going to use the ln. Okay? So when I go to find this one, I'm going to drop the x to the front. I'm going to take the natural log on both sides. And don't just sit there. Type this in on these calculators, because otherwise when you take the tests and quiz, you're not going to get them right if you can't type them in right. So you should get 4.9416.
I got an error.
Then type it again.
Is this the E right here?
What?
Oh, that's the wrong E.
So, okay, if you use the e to the x, you have to fill in a 1. Okay? Yes. Yes, sorry. Thank you. Okay, any questions? This is pretty easy peasy, right? So, let's do the same thing. I'm going to take the ln on both sides, so I'm going to drop the x plus 1 to the front. So once I do this, how do I get the x by itself? Just subtract the 1. Okay, so everybody do that and see if you come up with the right answer. Thanks. It'd be funny to watch me teach that way, though, wouldn't it? Probably keep your, yeah, well, I still can't reach it. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you got this. Oh, awesome. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to drop the 2x. Is it plus 5? Minus 5? I'm going to take the ln, you can. I'm going to take the ln of 120 divided by the ln of 1/3. And then how do I get the x by itself? Add 5, divide by 2. You guys are so smart. So type it in and make sure you get the right answer. Oh, sorry, honey. Yeah. Add 5 and divide by 2. There you go. We don't, because there's not a variable with it, right? So if you set 2 equal to 0, you don't get anything. So you set each factor. So if there was a, variable with that, so if that was like 2n, then you'd get a 0. Okay? Okay, how many of you got the 0.3211? Yeah? Oh, awesome. Okay. So, well, yeah, it took this morning. It was, if any of the morning classes are listening, this was a lot longer than this. Okay, so to do this, you have to have the exponent by itself. So I'm just going to subtract the 25 and then do it the same. Okay? So let's do this one. What do I have to do to get the, on number 6, what do I have to do to get the 8 to the 4 minus x by itself? Right, this is multiply, so I'm going to divide by -2. And then what do? Take the ln, drop this down. I'm going to subtract 4, and then what do I divide by? -1, very good. And if you do that, check yourselves, but you should come up with this. Yeah. Subtract 4 and divide by -1. How many got the right answer? This is a miracle. Okay. Okay, 2 more. Okay, so let's look at number 7, just because you're all chicken of the fraction. So you would just skip it because there's a fraction here? No. So I need to get the exponent by itself, right? We need the 2 by itself. So what's the first thing I'm going to do to get that by itself? All right, so if I add 1, I have 42 on this side. So the next thing I have to do is get the exponent by itself. So how do I get rid of the 2/3? Divide, which will be the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So what's the reciprocal of 2/3? So if I multiply this by 3/2, this goes away, right? And if I multiply this by 3/2, 42 divided by 2 is 21, times 3 is 63. Sometimes. So then this is just like a regular problem, right? We're going to take the ln, drop the x minus 6, and solve. So I'm going to find this answer and add 6. So go ahead and type that in and see if you get this in as an answer. Yes. Not right now. When after this. You got it? Okay. You got this? You got it? Y'all are good? You're good? You're good? Alyssa, you got this? You got this? Okay. You're all right? Okay, last one. So, y'all, the last one, it is not any harder, but we have to write more for it. Okay, we're going to write a little extra. So, this is how it's going to go. So, I have 2 to the x plus 5 and 3 to the x, is that minus 2? Okay, so what's different about this problem than the one before it? Right, they both have this time, there's a variable on both sides. So we're just going to write a little bit more, but then it's just as easy to solve it. So I'm going to still take the natural log on both sides. So I'm going to drop the x plus 5, and I'm going to drop the x minus 2. Now, if the ln wasn't here, if it was just the 2, what would I do with that? I would multiply, right? I would distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So I'm going to do that, but it's ln of 2. So I'm going to take that times both things. So I'm going to have x times ln of 2 plus 5 ln of 2. I just multiplied. And I'm going to go ahead and multiply on the other side with the ln of 3 now. So here's the part we're going to write just a little bit more, because I had to have the x's on one side and the numbers on the other. So look, everybody look. I literally need this to move to this side and this to move to this side, right? I'm just flipping sides. Do you see what I'm about to do? So the x's are over here and the numbers are over here. So when I do that, the plus becomes a minus and the plus becomes a minus. So I'm just going to switch sides. So I'm going to have x ln of 2 minus x ln of 3. And then I'm going to have this one, and I'm going to subtract this one. So I'm going to have minus 2 ln of 3 minus 5 ln of 2. So there's a lot of writing, but nothing hard. All I did is flip the sides. So here's the last thing we're going to write out. On this side, what do they have in common? X. So I'm going to take x So to get the x by itself, what would I do? Would we just divide? Can I divide this over here? So if I divide, so now the x is by itself. Now, I put parentheses around it because I want to take the whole top divided by the whole bottom. Okay, so everybody try to type this in, and here's the answer. See if you get the right answer.